Let me tell you a little story, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, shiggity.
I've been in love with 3 women
Gosh.
in my entire life.
Really?
One was Lisa from Lisa and Coke Jam. I thought I was like, Heavenly Father, thank you so much. And I praise God every day that, what if I could take you home? But about 1900 in the year of our Lord, 93, I saw a beautiful melon-toned woman strut across my TV screen.
And you got hot and bothered.
I said, I was like Oprah, there is a God. There is a God. And I stayed in love with her till I met my wife. But I tell you, this one, okay. Let's break this down, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Let's just break this down. She has 58 acting credits. Not only that, ladies and gentlemen, she is a writer. She is a producer. She is an activist. And she is an NCAA Image Award winner. It is my pleasure to bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the Benét Embry Show, Miss Erika Alexander the Great.
That's the best introduction I ever got.
He's milking it.
I'm actually glad to be up there with Lisa because she's actually a real sort of hero of mine. She's pretty badass. So thank you.
Right. So, oh, wow. I'm just, hey.
You all out of gas? You all out of gas now? Okay, damn.
Hey, how are you?
We're good.
Thank you for giving us your time tonight. We know that you are an extremely, extremely busy person. First off, I want to say congratulations on all your success.
It's my pleasure.
When you came in on Queen Sugar and just killed it, I was like, man. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, you came in and killed it. I was like, wow, this woman here got so much range and everything. Mm-hmm. So that being said, I'm looking at your IMDb, and your first film was 1996. Is that correct?
No, my first film was 1984.
Wow.
What?
When I was 14. I was discovered by Merchant Ivory in Philadelphia for an independent film called My Little Girl.
Damn.
Yeah, that's longevity.
You know what I was doing in 1984?
96, Living Single was almost over. It was done in 97. So, yeah, I had already done Cosby Show and gone around the world with the Royal Shakespeare Theater and done several plays at the Public. So by 96, I had been in the business almost 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you manage to keep that longevity going in today's world?
I have to say there's something to be said about, being blessed or fortunate, that type of thing. But you also have to be prepared. And a lot of people don't understand that sometimes preparedness is just being in your right mind, being game for things, making sure that you can adapt and be flexible. You have a good spirit about you, and people keep hiring you. But the truth is, I've been very fortunate. And also I've learned from a lot of great people. Latanya Richardson, which is Sam Jackson's wife,
right on.
Gloria Foster, who I did The Forbidden City with. People who people don't know, the names you don't know were the people who taught me everything. So I'm grateful to them. So
that being said, what's going on with Concrete Park? This is an award-winning graphic novel?
Yeah. Yes. Concrete Park is a graphic novel that I do with Tony Puryear, and he does all the illustration. He taught himself after 50 how to draw. And the reason this came about is we were going around town just at the end of the 90s and the early 2000s trying to sell a science fiction series. And we set it up at a studio, and then they ended up folding. It wasn't a studio, it was a network. And we got the rights back, and we started taking it around town. And every place we took it, we got a lot of interest. But since most of those people who were in those executive positions were white, they were unsure about how it could be marketed or would it be successful. So long story short, they send us to this big wig, and we start to pitch it. And he stops us and he says, let me stop you right there. He says, Black people don't like science fiction because they can't see themselves in the future. That's a quote.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Wow.
That's a quote. And he told us this because he had done some movie and it hadn't done well. And so he thought that we weren't able to really project ourselves into the future. And he told us a really racist story that goes on. But, Tony stopped him and said, let me tell you something about Black people. He said, for Black people, the past is painful, the present precarious, but the future is free. He said, we always see ourselves in the future because y'all didn't give us a place in the now. And that's why you got our futuristic ideas, jazz, rock and roll,
all
the
of
blues,
that, all of that.
all of this, everything that you see around you in American culture has been cultivated by 13% of its population that didn't see themselves in the future. He said, he said, you came across the ocean so we could funkify your world. And so
I like that. I'm going to use that.
Exactly. We're the aliens you stole to funkify your world. So he didn't like that very much, the studio head. He started moving the stuff all around, and we left there pretty depressed, because when these things happen, people think they can be all big and bad. He did say those things. Tony said those things, but we were actually very demoralized. It'd been a long time. We both had many credits to our name. Tony was the first African-American writer to make a movie that made over $100 million. He wrote Eraser, and I was there, and I had my background. And still we have this man telling us in our face that Black people don't like science fiction, belying the fact that there was Octavia Butler, Sam Delaney, at the time, the #1 science fiction star in the world was Will Smith. So the whole thing was crap. So when we walked away, Tony said, forget it, I'm going to draw it. And he taught himself after 50 how to draw. So what you see with Concrete Park is two people trying to go around the game to get in the game. That's us.
Go ahead, Zig.
So do you think that the changes in the science fiction industry over the last 4 to 5 years, especially with how the Hugo Awards are awarded and the conversations that go on in the background, do you think that it's slowly improving, or is it just, obviously it's not where it should be, but do you think that anything has really functionally changed?
Yes, it has changed, because the world has changed. What happened was the internet came and it changed everything, and people had to start to leverage their control that they really did have control to the wider world of people who were going around. I mean, now that you don't go to networks to watch TV. We're on right now. We're talking on the internet, and that's what's happening. So yes, and you mentioned the Hugo Awards. I don't know if it was the Hugo Awards, but whoever was Nnedi Okorafor who won that, or the Nebula Awards, and George R.R. Martin defended her. Do you remember that? Is that Zed that said that?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, and a lot of the science fiction writers said it was an affirmative action move, and they didn't like it, but he came to her defense, and they became friends that night, and because of that, the next big science fiction show on HBO, which will be produced by George R.R. Martin, will be created by Nnedi Okorafor, a Black woman.
Right on. That's
a huge change. That's a huge change. Black Panther has always been there, but no one wanted to make a movie of it. They didn't mind making comics. They're now making Miss Marvel, Muslim. All these things have changed, but it's been a slow change, and Black people are the reasons why it's changing.
People have been talking about Black Panther, I know, for at least 10 years, because I'm a comic junkie. I love all X-Men. I love all Avengers. I'm a Trekkie, somewhat Star Wars, whatever the situation is, and it does me good to see more people that look like me in roles that were traditionally Captain Kirk or something of that nature. So that being said, I also heard that you got a new movie coming out about the Harlem's Boys Choir.
Yes, I'm making all sorts of new movies. In that time where we was talking about that I was discovered when I was 14, I quickly saw that creators had all the power. I certainly saw it during the Cosby Show when I saw the writer's room, and he was a creator himself. He wrote his own material like a lot of comedians. And then wherever I went, I saw that I was mostly a tool if I was an actor, but if I could become a creator, I could control my destiny, but also my paycheck. It's very difficult to have a career. And the more people that got into the business, when I first started, there were no ingenues. And I'm not even kidding you. The biggest ingenues were on TV, and that was, Thelma on Good Times. And then there was, but no ingenues. And then there was, Nia Long and people came along, and there were really very little roles, or very few roles for Black women outside of authority figures like judges or cops or, mamas or slaves. So I decided I'd try to change my destiny by learning how to write. And it took me all these years, but I started to write, and people started to see my writing. I put a Mad Men script out online called Uptown Saturday Night that went viral. I got a literary agent off of it. I wrote a script. I wrote many scripts, but I went to Harlem, and I met with Horace Turnbull, and Horace Turnbull is the brother of Walter Turnbull, and Walter Turnbull is the creator and founder of the Boys Choir of Harlem. It's a very unique choir that came in the end of the 1960s when everybody was Black Power, Ungawa. He was about classical music, and he created this real phenomenon with these kids from New York, and they became the sister or the brother choir to the Vienna Boys Choir, the most famous boys choir in the world, and also the Mormon Tabernacle Choir performed with them. They performed with everybody. They did the Soundtrack to Glory. They did perform with Michael Jackson, with all these huge people, but no one really knew who they were. And when Walter Turnbull died, the choir died with them. They had some issues and they sort of went out. So I went and asked him for the rights to the movie, and he said he would allow me. He just gave them to me. He said he trusted me, and I wrote a movie, and now we're making a movie about it, and hopefully this summer we'll be in production.
Well,
Nice.
look here.
Wow.
You got a fellow actor here. I mean, I only got 3 IMDb
Oh,
credits,
God.
but if you got a role for me as a security guard, or I can carry a tune, or
Angry
something,
black man.
just let me just holler at your boy. I'm just letting you know I can do make you do what I do.
I will absolutely. I mean, that would be a real pleasure to work with you.
See,
Well, Erika, I have a question for you. We have a listener that wants to know, is there going to be a Living Single reunion?
Not that I know of. I've heard about that, and I people told me that Latifah said something on a talk show, but I haven't heard anything about it, and so I don't plan it. I don't think that's coming around to anything.
so with all your, whatever, is there anything else that you got going on? Well, I can't say anything else. What else other than the novel, the choir, you writing? Because I want to get into your activism and some of the roles that you most identify with.
Well, I just did a collaboration with Joss Whedon, who does the Avengers. You would like this if you love comics. And he gave me a call last year and asked me, did I want to collaborate with him to do a Giles spinoff from Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Right.
the Giles character, to spin that off. And the character is going to be the Black Girl Vampire. So I'm writing that, and it'll be out this summer in comic books on Dark Horse, and hopefully set up possibly for Fox, who owns the rights to Buffy, to make a series out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'm just set up a development deal with Lionsgate for a horror thriller I wrote. So those are 2 things that I think you should know about.
Just like I said, when you guys got something, holler at your boy.
No.
The
The sister is working.
I
man.
know she
She's
working.
I'm hustling.
I'm
you know?
not mad at her.
Well, where you at? Why don't we see you? I said, if you don't see me, that means I'm working harder, because I don't have a regular job. And working harder means working smarter. And to me, working smarter means ownership. So that's what I've been doing, creating.
Now, I am a horror film fanatic. I
She
love
is.
horror movies. So this horror movie that you're writing, is it going to be a lot of killing or just a lot of music making noise to get you excited?
I think, I'm not a fan of the killing ones. So that. I like the horror thrillers that were psychological. Obviously, with Get Out, that was one of the creepy psychological thrillers.
Right.
So ours will definitely have a little bit more killing than that.
Okay.
But I think that you'll be very happy, and I wish I could tell you the title right now, and I'd love to come talk about it more when we announce it at the top, after the top of the year.
Okay.
But I hope, Dollface, just for you, that it's just scary enough, but that it's more of a mind freak.
Okay.
Dig
I
that.
like those two. I like those two.
You know, something that I'm seeing right here is that she's into sci-fi, and that's not typical.
What do you mean not?
Why?
No, because it's like if you're doing like the comic stuff, that's not typical for,
Well, what the whole thing is that when you're an actor, you have to be more than creative. That's why. Listen, you only own Queen Sugar. Well, I think two shows, but I gained so much respect for you because everybody is used to Maxine Shaw. Everybody is used to it. But when you came out and played that role, I was like, wow, she has so much range. So it's not on because she has to be versatile with everybody. So that being said, your activism, you're a part of the Clinton Initiative?
Yes, I am, and was. Obviously, the Clinton Initiative is something that goes on, and they were going to bring it to a close if Hillary had won the election. Since that didn't happen, the Clinton Foundation is still there. It's still one of the most powerful foundations in the world. Most of the people who live in the world get their AIDS medication from the Clinton Foundation. This is the type of work that they do. And I was asked to be a delegate in 2008 and go to Africa with President Clinton and represent. So I work with them, and I work for them whenever they call. But I was a surrogate for Hillary Clinton for 9 years, and that's how I got involved with that. And I was a surrogate, obviously, in 2016 with this election, but that she didn't win. America lost, frankly. I think she won it.
Hey,
but
you so right about that.
It's been hard. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You just, I think everybody's still like,
in shock.
This is happening?
Yeah.
What's going on? So what are some of the roles that, well, first off, do you get tired of people calling you Maxine Shaw?
No. That's what you, I think it's really nice when people remember you for something that's actually really great. I mean, I actually like the name Max, and I like Maxine Shaw. People always say it with a huge smile on their face, and they usually
I definitely smile.
Yeah. So I get greeted so many times with all this positive energy. It keeps me going. You know, you may not get awards in this life or even a lot of money, but when people give you love on the streets, that's a form of currency that that I don't take for granted. So I'm grateful. They can call me Max or Pam or whatever they want.
I mean, because she killed Maxine Shaw.
Yeah.
Like, she was Maxine Shaw.
Yeah.
And when you see her playing that, you think, oh, this is probably how she is in real life. Like, this is her.
Yeah. Yeah, because I tell you a couple of times, I'll start to find T.C. Carson. Hey, man, why are you talking to her like that?
I want to make sure that meeting happened. You can still do that. You know, we were born on the same day, me and Terrence T.C. Carson. So we were born on the same day in real life. And we love each other to death. But no, that wasn't real. You know, here's the thing that's different from me and Maxine. She went to college. She had a professional career. Right. And she was very much about owning her sensuality and her sexuality with no apologies. Talk about without asking for permission. And she was the only one out of all of them that could afford her own apartment.
You're right.
So, because she was already over there eating their food. I admired that very much. I've only gone to high school myself. I went to the Philadelphia High School for Girls. Both my parents were orphans. I was born in the mountains of Arizona. And we lived for 11 years, for the first 11 years of my life, in a hotel called Starlight off of Route 66.
Wow.
When I tell you I have had such a different background than somebody who's more of a city slicker than Max, I can tell you that my father being an itinerant preacher, meaning Church of God in Christ, holiness, Pentecostal, then to Lutheran, then getting us to Philadelphia, where we had an opportunity to join in sort of a more of a, and what the world had to offer. That to me is a big deal, but I'm still that young girl from the mountains of Arizona. So Max is very different from me, and I was proud to play her. But here's the thing that's the same. The thing that you feel that I think people like, that I do share, is the possessiveness of self. Damn. My parents taught me to, we had to possess ourselves. We're the only Black people in our school. And also my father, I'm a daddy's girl. My father, who was a very difficult man, really liked that I was kind of would hang with the boys. And he encouraged that. So I like that. I certainly like that in Hillary Clinton. I like people who are different. I like people who buck the system, are disruptors. And I think that's what Maxine was. She really didn't care whether you liked her or not, but she knew, and I think you could tell that she was fair. Even if she wasn't always friendly, she was fair. So I like that.
We only got a couple more questions because I know you got to go. What do you want your potential legacy to be?
Well, I think Zed said a little something about it, that when he was sort of hinting that I was in science fiction and genres like horror, I would like for people to remember me as somebody who could play all bases. I'd love to be that person who's like Babe Ruth, call my shots and hit it out the park. But it just hasn't been that way because, frankly, there's not enough roles to go around and there wasn't enough opportunity. But I learned to be a pinch hitter. I learned to catch the ball. I learned to be a ball boy. Even I've done it all, and I've tried to do it with no ego. And I've tried to be a life learner. I hope people can see that and they'll say, look at her career. You saw that she kept trying. She tried to be, I tried to be good at what I do, which is acting, but I tried to expand my skill set. And I think all Black people understand that. We are the children of slaves, and we can't afford not to be flexible or to just stop our growth.
Amen.
And so I hope people see that in me.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice do you have for starting actors or actresses?
They got to haul ass.
Right on.
Yeah.
I like that.
Damn.
Yeah, I got to haul ass. People, I think, always when they come up to me, one of the biggest things they say is, what do I start with? And I say, the fact that you can ask me that is nice, but if you haven't gone online or gone to Barnes and Noble yet, then you don't want it. Because there's all sorts of great information for you online. There's all sorts of great podcasts like this, if you're inviting people to talk about these things, that can give you the real information that you need to start. But what you need more in the end is momentum. And most people have no momentum because they don't haul ass. They do something and then they wait every 2 months, and then they do something and they forget what they were doing before. More importantly, they lose interest. Mm-hmm. And I believe in order to get a conversation inside of the entertainment business, you must keep up the pressure on yourself every day to do something in it, to go to some place, to read something, to keep the momentum up until you realize that you're inside of that career. So haul ass.
That being said, I need a favor. If you can please.
I got a question.
I know. I'm right after this, dog. I got you.
You got to get that in now.
Could you please look into the camera and say your name?
Yes.
And tell everybody that they're tuned in to the Benét Embry Show.
Hi, I'm Erika Alexander, and you're tuned in to the Benét Embry Show.
That is perfect. I got a kiss. You see that? Yeah. Woo, I'm turning backflips right now. Go ahead, James. You can't do nothing to say nothing to mess up this moment.
God.
Calm your ass down.
I'm not. No, did you just not see that?
Calm your ass down.
Did nobody see it but
Okay,
you?
well,
So that means it didn't happen.
Y'all can't tell me nothing.
It didn't happen.
Whatever.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, you can marinate on that for Christmas. All right.
Marinate.
If there were two things that you could do that would change the trajectory of the way things are going in America right now, what would those two things be?
I would impeach Trump.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Absolutely.
Maybe I need to say three.
I would go, and I would teach people that they need to vote. Right. I believe that one of the things that people learned from somebody like Colin Kaepernick was to stand up and to realize that there were many times that you had to sacrifice your career, perhaps, to stand up for what you believe in. But you can stand for something, you can kneel for something, but stand for nothing. The minute he got up, he told people not to vote. He said he didn't believe in it, and he told people that Hillary and Trump were liars, so why vote? That was a huge mistake. And I think that a lot of Black men got that message that it didn't matter, and more importantly, that they were voting for something that was corrupt. If they want to change the criminal justice system in America, no matter how you think it got there, you have to vote. This is the system that our ancestors fought for. Fannie Lou Hamer said she's tired of being sick and tired, and she lent her body out to give us the right to vote. Same with Malcolm X. Even though he didn't believe in the system, he gave his body for what he believed in and in terms of his beliefs. So I believe in voting. I believe Martin Luther King believed in that the policies and the legislations that Lyndon Johnson eventually put in mattered, but it only changes if we vote. So if we can impeach this man who was a pure corruption of the system, but also a symptom of what's there, because when he leaves, yes, there'll be Pence, and yes, there'll be Paul Ryan, and they are all corrupt, if not worse, because they actually know the better, and they're still doing it.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. He is at the head. He is a racist. And more importantly, he's humiliated America and shown us for what
straight humiliation,
which is a bunch of ignorant people who would vote for a man who would be as unqualified over the most qualified person in history to run. If that's what we want, then we got him. But we now need to vote locally, and nationally. We can't look at the presidential election. We have to look at local things and change it. And y'all down in where you are, it really matters that people vote. We need to make sure that we vote every time for dog catcher. We need to vote.
I dig that. Well, look here. We have thoroughly enjoyed this and everything. Look here. Nicole, I've never changed my promo, and Nicole made me change 50 times. Now she ain't going to like that. Go ahead and do this. She is I have called her 3 times today. Are you okay? You good? She has been stressing me. Can you tell Nicole to give her brother a break And you are also welcome whenever you are in Dallas. You are more than welcome to come down here and sit in with us. And when you get this project off next year, please,
absolutely,
please reach back out to us. We would love to talk about it and get it on the air.
Absolutely.
And when you get a casting call again,
oh God, here he goes. Brother trying to work. I ain't mad at him.
yeah.
You know what? I love it. Because that's how relationships are built, and I appreciate it. And yes, we will talk again, and I'd love to talk to you about casting as well. But I want to also thank you all three of you, for doing something. As you say, not only have you hauled ass, you created something for people like me to come and discuss things like this. And I really appreciate the invitation to talk to your viewers and really say hello to all my people in Dallas, Texas. And I know Texas has been through a lot with what's going on with Houston and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Erika.
Tell folks how to get in contact with you quick.
Love.
Tell folks how to get in contact with you.
Oh, go to Erika Alexander on Facebook, and Erika Alexander the Great on Twitter and on Instagram. That's me. And that's Erika with a K, with a hard K. Alexander is in the Great.
Yes.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, man, you've heard from greatness tonight. You've heard from greatness tonight.
Thank you. I love it. I got to come here more often.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you
absolutely. Absolutely. Because we love you here.
Exactly.
We do.
Invite me anytime and let me know when you need me to come and just pontificate or just, say yeah, because I'm a good what is it? Amen person. I'll just be like, amen, girl.
Yeah.
As long as we can have
Yes.
Erika unfiltered.
Yeah.
As long as it's Erika unfiltered.
I'm happy. Yeah. Have a good holiday, y'all.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Same
holiday.
to
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.